So there's no question that in the history of my channel, I've definitely been quite critical of Xbox and the way they're handling things right now, and even a little bit of the Xbox One X. I did do some cool videos back in the day where I kind of compared what the Xbox One X could have been to what an equivalent PC could do, and you can look back at my channel and find those. I used Forza Motorsport 6 and Horizon 3 to kind of compare those. So anyways, I got the Xbox One X on launch day, and I've had it since then, and I've played it pretty much every day since then because I wanted to get a good feel of the system, and basically I'm going to give my thoughts on the system in this video. I'm not going to go crazy in-depth or anything. I mean, there's plenty of people who've done reviews on all the features and everything. I just want to give my personal thoughts on the Xbox One X itself. I am going to be recording at the same time as this. I don't know when I'll be uploading those, but I'm also going to be making videos about the future of Xbox and why, even if the Xbox One X does well, that I don't think that Microsoft is going to continue doing Xboxes, I mean, even after this. And I also want to respond to a friend of mine on YouTube here who makes excellent videos, but we'll get into that in the future. When I do make those videos, I'll have those linked right in the description, so check down below. Anyways, let's get started with basically what I think about the system. Now, first off, the actual hardware itself. I'm talking the actual system, the build quality, the noise, the heat, all that stuff, and what I think about that part. Well, for starters, the moment you see this console actually in action, not even with the screen, like you don't even have to look at your screen, you just have to see and feel the actual system itself, it's clear that a hell of a lot more research and development dollars and time was put into this system versus the PS4 Pro. Now, the reason for that is because Microsoft has more money to throw around than Sony does. Sony's not in the most amazing financial situation right now. I mean, they're doing okay, but they're definitely nowhere near as Microsoft, who seems to have an endless supply of money to throw around at pretty much anything they want to. This is why Microsoft can put out so many products that can be good, yet still end up failing. Like, for example, the original Zune was amazing, but everyone laughed at it because the iPod was already established. Who cares about this thing? But it didn't matter to Microsoft because they have all that extra money, and they're not losing anything anytime soon, considering how much of a stronghold they have on the PC market. And of course, let's not forget Office and productivity. They're definitely holding all of that. So Microsoft has all of this research and development money. Sony doesn't. And the reason they couldn't put that much in the PS4 Pro is because they could not risk dumping a ton of money into developing this expensive alternative to the PS4 and it potentially failing. Like, what if they released the PS4 Pro and it was as well thought out as the Xbox One X, and it was as expensive, and they released it and ended up not doing well? Also, they couldn't risk... First off, the Xbox One X, from what I've been able to tell, the Xbox One X is being sold at a loss. And this makes sense when you consider that the PS4 Pro is being sold at a slight profit. I know that for a fact. It's being sold at a slight profit, but it has 3 gigs less RAM, 4 gigs less of GDDR5, although the PS4 Pro has an extra gig of DDR3 to help allocate some extra memory for games, so it puts system stuff in there. But the Xbox One X has 4 more gigs of RAM, and you have to remember right now that DDR4 RAM and even GDDR5, which is a variant of DDR3, even that RAM is going through a shortage right now, and it's more expensive than it ever was. I mean, look on Amazon for RAM prices and Newegg. So it's got a lot more RAM. The GPU is significantly more powerful. I mean, we're talking a difference of like between an RX 460 and an RX 470 to something that's around the level of a GTX 1060, like between 1060 and 1070. Power-wise, it's pretty much exactly where the 1060 is, but they've done some stuff with it to kind of bump it up just a little bit. So that's a pretty significant power jump. I mean, just look at the price difference between those two cards if you go, again, on Amazon or Newegg. In addition, the Xbox One X also has a much more expensive and intricate cooling system. I mean, just look at teardowns of the Xbox One X versus the PS4 Pro. The Xbox One X's heatsink has a lot more copper. It has that vapor chamber. It has all of that stuff, while the PS4 Pro's heatsink is pretty much just a slightly bigger version of the original PS4's. So all of this stuff equals more than just $100 difference. So it would make sense to me that Microsoft is selling Xbox One X at a loss. And see, the reason they're doing that is because they knew that if they priced that system over $500, that it would fail miserably. I mean, look at what happened with the original PS3, and that was back in the day before the dollar has inflated in the past 11 years. So Sony couldn't do that. They could not afford to lose money on systems. They could not afford to dump a lot of research and development dollars into the PS4 Pro. So that's why the PS4 Pro was basically just kind of a simple system. It's just the equivalent of 2 regular PS4s kind of running in crossfire. You can turn on the second half of it in order to bump your games up to a higher resolution to take better advantage of higher res TVs. But other than that, it's not really that well thought out. It's bigger, it's got a bigger heatsink and all that, but it didn't have anywhere near as much thought and, in my opinion, love put into it as the Xbox One X does. The Xbox One X is quiet, it's dead quiet, it does a much better job of pumping the heat out, and that's obvious when you hear the PS4 Pro's fan running higher, and yet the system itself feels hot still, while the Xbox One X can stay at a relatively low fan speed, and it's burning hot coming out the back, but all of that heat's coming out of the system, it's not actually remaining inside it. And that's pretty good. If there's one thing that I can say about the Xbox One X that I don't like, at least with my Project Scorpio edition, I don't know if this is the case with the regular system, but the actual materials it feels like it's made out of, at least the outer casing, just feels kind of cheap and flimsy compared to the PS4 Pro. I mean, if you run your finger along the top to the edge, it feels like there's a little lip at the edge, so... And by that I mean like there's a little extra bit of plastic sticking up from the sides. You can't really see it when you're looking at it, but you definitely feel it. And I just feel like the Xbox One X's outer materials are kind of lesser than the PS4 Pro's. And in my personal opinion, this is totally a matter of personal taste, but I think that the original PS4 and the Xbox One S are better looking systems than the Xbox One X. I feel like it's too bland. I mean, it blends in well with any setting, and I do think it looks a little better than the PS4 Pro. But the original PS4 and the Xbox One S were such amazing-looking systems, and I wish that the Xbox One X kind of took more after them. And it's weird to say that, because it's clear that it takes after the Xbox One S, but a lot of the stuff that the Xbox One S had that made it look really cool, like the disk drive being centered there and the pits all over it to kind of blend in with the venting, it's just gone in this thing. It's more of just a black slab, and I definitely kind of miss the styling on the Xbox One S. So that's the outer hardware and the build quality, and clearly I'm a fan. There's one thing that I am not a fan of, and that's the fact that the Xbox One X still includes a controller that needs AA batteries to be used, and you need to buy a play and charge kit separately. Why in the hell Microsoft is still doing this, I just don't understand. Sony and Nintendo moved away from AA batteries last generation. It's gone. Like, the Wii U didn't use that, and the PS3 didn't even use it. It used rechargeable batteries. And yes, AA's have their advantages. I mean, if your controller runs out, you can just go quickly swap, but with chargeable batteries, you save so much money in the long run. You're not throwing away batteries constantly, which is bad for the environment. And in addition, what if you don't have any more AA's in your house and you just lost track, you didn't have any more AA's, and then you got to put your game down? That sucks. So I hope that if they do make another Xbox, and I don't really think they will, and I'm going to put that again in the other video I was mentioning, but if they do make another Xbox, they need to fix that. It needs to come with a rechargeable controller, and they could easily make one with a long battery life. I mean, if Nintendo was able to do that with the Wii U Pro controller with its ridiculous battery life, then surely the Xbox One X could have that too. Or not the Xbox One X, the next Xbox controller. So that's my one gripe about the hardware for sure, but that's not really the system. That's just their philosophy on controllers for whatever reason. Now, what about the software in the games? Well, let's start with the software, and this one actually puzzles me a lot, because Microsoft they created Windows, and hell, the Xbox One even runs Windows 10, and in my personal opinion, Windows 10 is very, very well laid out. It is excellently crafted. I think it really is Microsoft's best operating system they've made so far in terms of how they've laid it all out. So why in the hell is the Xbox One X's, and really the Xbox One in general, why is its interface so messy? I mean, look at the PlayStation 4's interface. I mean, I'm going to be too lazy to actually edit it into this video or anything, but you basically have your layout of icons on the home screen, and it's definitely not as well organized as the PlayStation 3 was. I think the PS4's interface was a step down from the PS3, but it certainly is better than the Xbox One's. I mean, first off, the PS4 starts up a lot quicker. You'll notice that. Like, if you shut off both systems completely, the PS4 is up and running within a minute or so. It takes longer than that for the Xbox One X to start up. I've noticed that. It's like you're starting up a full-fledged PC, and that's because it is running Windows 10, and the Xbox One X's processor is not all that good for, heavy processing, so that's probably why it takes a while to load. Of course, the PS4's processor is worse, but they're basically the same thing. So the home menu is clunky. You can still get to your stuff that you need within a few steps, but I just find it to be so disorganized, and it takes a while to get used to. While on the PlayStation, everything's just laid out, especially with the folder feature that you have now. I mean, it's just better. I really think Microsoft should have taken after Sony and made a much more, I guess, a less cluttered interface than what the Xbox currently has. I mean, it's a step up from the Xbox 360's Metro interface that it has, but it's a step down from the Xbox 360's. In my opinion, the original Blade interface on the 360 was pretty nice too. Very organized. Each tab had its own category, and then you had your stuff inside that menu. I mean, it's a shame they had to move away from that kind of philosophy there, but I understand why they did. So that's the home screen. Oh, and something interesting, the home screen, the UI on the Xbox One X, renders in 1080p. And they were originally not going to do this. They were originally going to have the screen render in 4K, but developers decided, like, hey, like, don't do that. We can use that RAM for games. On the PS4 Pro, what they did with that extra gig of DDR3, so basically what that's meant for is when you're on the home screen and you're actually using those apps, it uses the main GDDR5 RAM, but if you switch to a game or something, or if you're inside a game, it switches a lot of the background tasks over to that DDR3. It uses half a gig for that, and also half a gig extra to render the home screen in 4K. So the PS4 Pro not only has a better laid out interface, but it also renders in 4K. So I don't know. I mean, the PS4 Pro, just interface-wise, absolutely wins. It also has better themes and all that. I don't know. I mean, in my opinion, allocating that extra RAM and processing for games is always a better idea. I mean, look what happened with the original Kinect, how basically that stole away resources from developers on a system that was already weaker than its competition. I'm glad Microsoft moved away from that. I just wish that there was a way that these game systems could render their UIs in 4K and not have to take up resources. I mean, if my PC can do it, no problem, and it switches to a game, it stops rendering the desktop, and it just renders the game entirely. Of course, if you do borderless window, that's a different story, but if PCs can do it, then I see no reason the consoles can't. I mean, really the reason they do is because they want you to be able to smoothly and quickly jump between, like, the home screen and the game and all that, while in PCs, the screen may go black for a second while you go to your desktop. It really depends, but I don't know. That would be a nice change to see, but I don't think that's going to be changed because that extra RAM is going to be allocated for games. And finally, the part that matters the most, I mean, this is the reason why people are buying this system, is the games themselves. Like, how do they look? How do they run? Well, I guess my point of view can be that of a PC gamer who bought the system out of curiosity, and that is really the reason I bought it. I like to own every system. I was sick of having that extra hole in my TV stand, and I wanted to own it. I mean, I'm a tech YouTuber. I don't really upload that much anymore, but you know, I wanted to get it. So my current PC that I have now, and I'm about to do a massive upgrade on it, but I'm going to wait for some new NVIDIA cards to come out, new AMD, see what they're offering. Right now I'm not going to be getting anything, but right now I'm running a GTX 1070 and an i5 4690K with 16 gigs of DDR3 RAM. I'm not even running DDR4 in my system. It's DDR3. Obviously the 1070 has 8 gigabytes of GDDR5. So I've got a PC that, in terms of right now, it's about middle. It's pretty much middle of the road. I wouldn't say it's lower or upper mid-range. I'd say it's like right there in the middle. So after playing I bought a few multiplats on the Xbox One X so that I could compare it with my PC. And basically the way I see that it stands up, there's a few games that I still want to compare. Like, we're still waiting on an Xbox One X patch for Forza Horizon 3. But I've played Forza Motorsport 7. I've played a few other games, and I've just noticed that other than, like, low-demand games that don't take much to max out, like Forza Motorsport 7, multiplats still, on my middle-of-the-range PC, just look and run better on the PC. Even with this most powerful console ever, it still feels anemic in comparison. I mean, sure, you know, you couldn't get a PC for $500 that could do all of this, but at the same time, a PC is not just for gaming. The Xbox One X is a machine built for gaming with some extra media features built into the background. You're not going to be making a video like I have here on the Xbox One X. You're not going to be designing websites. You're not going to be doing your work. So, I mean, if you get a gaming PC at top $500 on top of a regular gaming PC for a good graphics card and maybe a processor upgrade, to be honest, most desktop PCs nowadays come with processors that completely destroy the consoles, so you don't even really need to do that. But if you could put that on top of a PC, you'd be getting a PC that could game a hell of a lot better than the Xbox One can, the Xbox One X. You could get a PC that has a lot more games to choose from, because we know the Xbox One basically has no exclusives, and you could still play the Xbox games, and it would do all of your regular computing stuff. So is it really a bargain? Not really. I mean, if you're getting a machine just for gaming, then yes, maybe it could be a good bargain, but if you already own a computer, then just put a new graphics card into it. Don't worry about the Xbox, because you're not going to be missing out on anything with this. You'd be... Again, I mean, let's say you put $400 for a graphics card and another $100 for maybe like a CPU upgrade or something, or like a little bit of additional RAM. You could get a graphics card that vastly surpasses the Xbox One X's and a processor that enables you to run lots of games that cannot run in 60 FPS on the Xbox One X in 60 FPS on the PC. Like Destiny 2, you can run that game in 60 FPS with a Pentium. A Pentium processor, for those of you who aren't really educated on it, is pretty low on the Intel range. I mean, it's below i3s, and you see most gamers getting i5s for their PC. So it's down there, and yet it has no problem 60 FPSing Destiny 2. So that's the main reason why I still think that if from somebody like me who plays on consoles and PC, I still think that because of the fact that the Xbox One X doesn't offer compelling exclusives like the PlayStation and Nintendo Switch do, I don't think that getting the Xbox One X is a worthy purchase over getting a good gaming PC, unless you absolutely hate gaming on PCs, which I know some people that do. But if you are okay with gaming on PCs, don't waste your money. Wait for like a price drop or something if you really want to get the Xbox One X. But get yourself a good graphics card. You'll still be able to play all the Xbox One games. You'll get access to a hell of a lot more games because Steam has just so many games on it. It's crazy. You'll get the choice that maybe you don't want to play in 4K 30 FPS. Maybe you really like 60 FPS. So maybe you want to bump it down to like 1440p. Well, sure, the Xbox One X has choices in a lot of games for what kind of graphical upgrades or performance modes it can get, but a lot of those games, because of the Xbox One X's terrible CPU, simply cannot run games in 60 FPS that even a mid-range PC easily could do. Like Destiny 2, they could downgrade the Xbox One X version, they could offer a 720p mode, and it still wouldn't be hitting 60 FPS because of that CPU inside the Xbox One X, while even on a PC, like a pretty low-end gaming PC, if you wanted to do 1080p, or if you wanted to go like a little bit upper low-end, do 1440p with like a GTX 1060, which, as I said earlier, is pretty much the equivalent to the Xbox One X, you could easily hit 60 FPS in those games. And for a lot of people, 60 FPS and up for that matter, because as far as I know, there's no console games that go above 60 FPS. If you want to do that, you can do that in any game on the PC, no restrictions. If you have the hardware for it, and unlike most console fanboys who will make you think differently, the vast majority of gaming PCs have good enough hardware to do that. You don't need to get anything super expensive. Any PC could do that. So if you are someone who likes 60 FPS, you like having the choice to use whatever controller you want that bigger amount of games, the Xbox One X is not worth the money for that kind of person. If you are somebody who only games on game consoles and you are choosing between the Xbox One X and the PS4 Pro right now, you're very indecisive. Well, if you like the idea of playing if you play mostly multiplats and you like the idea of playing multiplats in the best possible way you can without going onto the PC, then yes, the Xbox One X is a good choice. But if you are not concerned with those differences between the two versions, and I mean, if you're going for console only, you probably aren't to begin with. Most people aren't anyways. If you go with the PS4 Pro, you get access to Sony's huge range of exclusive games. And all of these, like most of these games are rated extremely well and are extremely fun. Like, I just bought Horizon Zero Dawn's Frozen Wilds DLC, and I can't wait to start playing that. You get all these games on the PS4 that you just don't get on the Xbox One, in addition to all of the multiplats that you can also play on the Xbox One X. The PS4 Pro still gives a decent upgrade to the base game. It's not as good as the Xbox One X, there's no doubt about that, but it still gives you the upgrades. And in addition, it's also $100 less. And even like if there's sales or whatever, and keep in mind, like I said, the Xbox One X is not getting a price drop anytime soon because it's being sold at a loss. If there's any sort of price drops in the PS4 Pro, you could be potentially getting enough to pay for PS Plus instead of the additional Xbox Live Gold on top of it. By the way, that's another advantage for PCs, is not having to pay to play online. So if you take that cost into account, PCs, besides the much better sales, save you a crap ton of money over the course of a generation. But you could add games on top of that, and you could walk home for the same amount it would cost for a Xbox One X. You could walk home with a PS4 Pro, a game, and a year of PS Plus if you want to play online and get those like other games and stuff. So is it really worth giving up the bigger, more quality range of exclusive games in order to get a system that's more powerful? then, I mean, if it's worth it for you, then go right ahead, because the Xbox One X is built well, it runs games well for if somebody who's not too picky about performance, and it's a slim system, and it's got some cool extra features like the UHD Blu-ray player. It's a good system. I actually have nothing bad to say about the hardware, but in terms of the actual company itself and how Microsoft is handling the Xbox division right now, not a huge fan of that, and in my opinion, I would still recommend getting a PS4 Pro or a PC over the Xbox One X, unless you really like the stuff that Xbox has to offer, or if all your friends are on Xbox and you want to continue playing with them and you want to get, you know, the upgraded system. Anyways, hopefully this was a pretty impartial view on this, you know, the situation with the Xbox One itself, the Xbox One X. Hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have any more questions for me or anything you want me to talk about, I will do videos more often now. I promise I'll stop being lazy on that. Just leave me some comments. I read all my comments, every single one of them. So if you have some good ideas, I'll make some videos on that, and I'll even shout you out if I really like that idea. Anyways, you guys all have a good one.